happy, be healthy, be your best. Be your best.
Okay, the gut.
Be
You know,
happy.
the gut is a very complex thing in the body. When I was growing up, when I think of what I used to see on television, I saw pop, pop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. I think that was Alka-Seltzer. And then there was this thick pink stuff, Pepto-Bismol. Saw that. There wasn't a whole lot about the gut when I was growing up. There really wasn't even that much information on the gut. You heard about people having ulcers or different problems like that, but in the last few decades, there's so much more information that has come out on the gut. One of the things that I found from a biochemist in Indiana that's really interesting is if you could actually take the gut from the mouth and all the way to the end, stretch it out, you actually could see through it like a hose. Everything about health in association with the gut is about what goes in, what comes out, what's left behind. And there's a lot of intricacies to the gut, a lot of things to be taken into consideration. You've got the mouth, you've got the salivary glands, you've got the esophagus, the liver, the stomach, the gallbladder, the pancreas, the duodenum, the small intestine, the large intestine, the appendix, the rectum, and the anus. I mean, top to bottom. There's a lot going on there. And there's a lot of parts to digestion in the gut that are really, really important. One of the things about the gut is it is majorly affected by somebody's emotional state and how much stress they're going through. Now, the reason for this is that when somebody's under a lot of stress, their adrenals get impacted, and the adrenals like to use trace minerals in order to cope with stress. Now, if the adrenals start using the lion's share of the trace minerals, then what happens is the stomach goes to the bank and tries to get trace minerals to make acid and pepsin to digest food, and the bank says, sorry, the account's overdrawn. Same thing can happen with the pancreas. Okay, so from a stress standpoint, the gut can really have a hard time working properly. There's a very, very tight gut-brain connection. There's a lot of neurotransmitters that are made in your gut. 95% of your serotonin's made there, and a lot of the other neurotransmitters that work directly with the brain are made there. And this is because when you were developing, there was this clump of cells, and they separated, and one part became the brain, and one part became the gut, but they, through life, are still connected with the nervous system. They still work together. So for years, gut feeling or second sense with the gut or whatever was kind of poo-hooed by science, but now they're starting to realize there really is a tight connection between how you feel. If you're nervous, if you've got a gut feeling, sometimes it can be a warning system going on between the gut and the brain. Other times it's just an evaluation of the body, of the stress level that you're under, and requires close attention in order to help those adrenals, help with the stressful situation, so that you do break food down better, you do get the benefit of your nutrients, and things from the very top to the very end are working smoothly and working the way that they should. So you really want to consider with the gut, assessing your emotional state each day, okay? Another thing that majorly can affect the gut is hydration, whether or not there's enough water in the system. Why is that affected? Because the gut really relies on hydration in order to transport nutrients and to take away waste. So hydration can play a big part in it. Minerals play a big part. In another episode of our podcast, you would have heard about parasites, how parasites can come in with food, with animals, with lifestyle choices like, sushi or whatever. Even sometimes walking on the beach, you can just pick up different parasites, walking on soil. That's something that can affect the gut. You can have them in the area of the liver and the gallbladder and the duodenum and the first part of the small intestine, and have that affect the gut health. So there's a lot of things there that are going on. Another subject that affects the gut is electrolytes. Okay, sometimes people are drinking water, and they're drinking a lot of water, but it's just going straight through, kind of like a garden hose. Okay, well, that sometimes can be helped with electrolytes. Electrolytes play a really big role in the body of the body being able to absorb water and then move the nutrients and also help with inflammation and waste, which then goes through the gut and obviously gets eliminated. So hydration can be a really big part as well. There's a lot that goes on in the large intestine. People used to think of it as just being, oh, it's just elimination, correct? Not so. There's in the large intestine a lot of the hydration issues in the large intestine get taken care of. In the large intestine, a lot of the fiber gets used to make other ingredients. Some of your vitamins get made in the large intestine. A lot of the balance between your good bacteria and your not so good bacteria, you want to have about an 85%, 15% balance, with the 15% being the ones that you don't want, that kind of act like street sweepers, and the 85% being beneficial. A lot of that goes on in the gut as well. So you really want to think about the gut from a stress standpoint. Do you have enough trace minerals to support the whole system? In fact, the endocrine system, if you don't have enough trace minerals, won't produce gastrin, which tells the stomach to make acid and pepsin. So that could be another issue too. So hydration, trace minerals, managing stress, exercise helps the gut, and then making sure that the diet is a huge thing that is involved with the gut. A lot of people don't do well with gluten, dairy, sugar, corn, or soy. And another evolving field that's getting more attention now is oxalates. Oxalates are in a lot of different foods, and they deposit in the body little crystals that can be sharp. And this can cause joints that have problems, inflammation in tissue. For people that have kidney disease, it actually can cause stones in the kidney. So oxalates are another big issue. So these are things that we regularly look at when we work on somebody, and we scan them to see if any of these areas of the digestive system are showing up as having too much energy, too little energy, needing assistance, needing some help with some food sensitivities. Are they taking in too many oxalates, high oxalate foods? Another consideration is the spine. Okay, the spine, when it has a lot of subluxations, that can interfere with proper digestion as well. With the vagus nerve that goes right to the stomach, one of the main controls in the body, being majorly affected by stress as well. So I hope this helps you understand a little bit more about your digestive system. Drink more water, use trace minerals. Think about using hydrochloric acid in the middle of any meal that you eat protein with. Think about some enzymes about 15 minutes before you eat to kind of make a nice man-made reservoir so that things can rapidly become alkaline and not be aggravating the gut. Another consideration is if you have been on antibiotics. Okay, when you go on antibiotics, the problem is that goes in and it doesn't differentiate between the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, so when somebody's been on rounds of antibiotics, it wipes out the good bacteria in the gut. And so there is a need to start building that good bacteria back up. And this is going to take some prebiotics. It's going to take some probiotics. It's going to take attention to the gut to just really build that colony back up. There's a small contribution with things like kombucha, as long as it doesn't have a ton of sugar in it. Some people like to eat some fermented foods just to aid a little bit. Things like yogurt, if it's got sugar in it and a lot of times the bacteria isn't really highly active and it just ends up going through. One that's interesting is kefir, plain kefir, and even better yet, if you can get goat kefir. It has a bacteria that actually goes in the opposite direction in the intestine from what yogurt does, and it actually sets up housekeeping where for a few days it proliferates and makes more bacteria. So that can be something where that can be beneficial to someone. And here again, you have to take into consideration whether or not you're dairy sensitive, or these are things that wouldn't be, good from a dairy standpoint to use. Sauerkraut, that's another thing. You can make your own sauerkraut. And back in the day, sauerkraut was just cabbage, came in a bag, sauerkraut, right? Now, oh my gosh, you go to the grocery store, you've got jalapeno citrus sauerkraut, you've got beet sauerkraut, you've got so many different kinds of sauerkraut that almost anybody can find something that they actually like. Another thing that qualifies is pickles. Some people love pickles. Pickles can help with some of that bacteria in the gut too. But this is just something to think about if you have been on a round of antibiotics or a number of rounds for like a UTI or some type of a respiratory infection or something, that you might start to see that you're having some gut issues. And that could be because you were on that round of antibiotics. So think about getting that good bacteria back into the gut, raising the levels of it, and getting your gut back to that gold standard of a good 85-15% ratio, and just getting it where you're getting the benefit of your nutrients and not having it where there's inflammation or aggravation of the gut because of not having good enough bacteria. We'll talk more about leaky gut later and some of the other specific recommendations, but this is just kind of gut 101. Hope you enjoyed and see you again soon.
Your best. Be happy.